Hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. In this update, we're going to talk about our risk of severe weather as we head toward the middle of our work week. And on Monday, we had our first high risk issued by the Storm Prediction Center. A couple of more days of severe weather in shifting locations, still, though, in Tornado Alley. Coming up, we're going to talk about that. We'll track and time the storms so you know what and where we're expecting the worst of the weather conditions right here on this version of Hutch's Weather. So buckle up. Here we go. Let's start with a look at the area of concern. Now, we do have a marginal risk in green. These areas in Arkansas, in northern parts of Mississippi and Alabama, all the way out toward the Virginias, the green areas. That's a level 1 on a 5-level scale. A couple of storms might flirt with severe criteria. That includes Minneapolis, St. Paul, too, by the way. And the yellow area, that's a slight risk of severe weather. That means we may have a few scattered thunderstorms that could very easily be severe with large hail, damaging wind, and even a tornado or two. But in the enhanced area, not far from Columbus, right there in Ohio and parts of eastern Indiana, we expect a chance for some severe weather there. Now, let's talk about the different threats that we have. And we'll start first and foremost with the area of concern for the severe weather. So in the area of yellow, slight risk or increased risk as we get in towards Columbus. The yellow area, that includes Louisville, Kentucky. It includes some very large cities, Cincinnati, Ohio, Indianapolis, all the way up to Cleveland and Toledo. As we look up to the north, Detroit, right on the northern fringe of this activity. Bowling Green and Nashville, also in that slight risk. And as we take a look a little bit closer, the enhanced risk includes Columbus and Fort Wayne and Indiana side. So that's where the greatest risk will be. What about the tornado threat? Let's check that out. Now, these areas are highlighted by the Storm Prediction Center where you see the hatched area. There is a significant risk of severe activity, including not large, but very large hail. And there is a 10% chance of significant severe weather, including tornadoes, because that's what we're plotting here is that risk of tornadoes. Now, a 10% risk of tornadoes. What the heck does that mean? That means there is a 10% chance that there will be a tornado within 25 miles of any point within inside that circle. So again, that's a pretty high probability of seeing a tornado in these areas. And it may indeed be a strong one as we go through. By the way, the brown area, including Louisville and Cincinnati and on up into Cleveland and Detroit, that's a 5% risk area, a 5% chance at seeing a tornado in those areas. Now, high winds will be a danger with these storms as well, but it mainly shadows the slight risk area. So gusty winds over 60 miles per hour will be likely with some of these storms, and hail. There's a significant risk of hail in the atmosphere. That's what this hatched area means. Cincinnati, Louisville, Columbus, all the way up toward Cleveland. And that is because the energy of rising air in the atmosphere is so great. It's going to support some fairly lofty hail sizes. Those are our threats. This is the location. And again, this is for today, Tuesday, the risk of severe weather across the nation. Again, in brown, there's a lower risk of severe weather, but we can't rule out the risk of severe weather, at least some hail of upwards of an inch in diameter that will flirt with that risk of severe weather criteria, as well as some damaging straight line winds with the storms, Memphis, Jackson, up into Charlotte, and even the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, on up towards Madison, and even you folks in Oshkosh, by gosh. All right, let's take a look at our risk on day 3. That's Wednesday. That's tomorrow. And as we head into the day tomorrow, look at this. A huge area of right now what is called an enhanced risk in the orange. The yellow is that slight risk. We won't redefine them. But look where this goes. It really returns to Tornado Alley. So most of Arkansas, parts of northern and eastern Texas and extreme eastern Oklahoma, most of the southern half of Missouri, including you folks in Springfield, the Boot Hill, all the way up to Cincinnati, not far from you in the Quincy area as well. This extends out towards Indianapolis, Cincinnati, again for the second straight day. Louisville and Nashville, enhanced risk. So as we go into the day on Wednesday, there will be a more widespread risk of some stronger storms potentially than what we see on Wednesday. And we'll go ahead and time those out for you. We don't have this broken down into the different levels of severe or probabilities of tornadoes, for instance, but where you see the hatched area is a higher risk or an increased risk of some significant hail or significant severe weather. And that would include the presence of some strong tornadoes as well, and very large hail, over 2.5 inches in diameter. So all risks are on the table as we go through our day today on Tuesday and again tomorrow on Wednesday. So what can we count on as far as information? If you are in any of these areas and storms form in your area today or again tomorrow, please have severe weather information handy. Check on those storms, see if a warning is issued, and go over with your family some safety precautions. Where should your family go in the instance of a tornado warning? And a warning means that the storm is happening, it's imminent, or it's been sighted on the ground and it's occurring. So please keep in mind, warnings mean action is required. A watch means that actions may be required, and it's a good time to review what those are. Okay, now what we're going to do is take a look at the model for today as we go through the day on this Tuesday. What can we expect with regards to our severe weather risk? Well, here's what I'm doing. I'm loading this up for you as we head out into the future. And let's go ahead and load this up for you right now. Okay, so taking a look at the model guidance that goes out for today on Tuesday and into Wednesday, we'll go ahead and forward the clock into the time frame of our Tuesday. So as we go through the morning and afternoon hours, notice as we go from Wichita here, this is the storms. As we go in towards Indianapolis, Madison, Wisconsin, the morning showers, these will be leftovers from our storms last night in the Central Plains. Those will move through. There'll be a risk of some windy thunderstorms in the morning hours here as we look into the windy city of Chicago, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Green Bay as we go towards mid-morning, 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Okay, heading into the afternoon, the heat starts building up in areas near Cincinnati. South wind feeding warm, moist air into the area will fuel these storms, and then boom, they fire off as we go into the afternoon and early evening. And there will be some shear in the atmosphere as we look in from Lansing and on down into Fort Wayne and Columbus as we go through the evening hours and late evening hours. Toledo, Detroit. Again, it doesn't look overly impressive on this model run, but the parameters for spin in the atmosphere and the parameters for lift in the atmosphere, think of that hot air rising. The faster the hot air rises, the bigger the hailstones that hot air can support as it's rising up. So those storms will continue off to the east as we head into the late night hours, and then will return as we head into the afternoon on the 8th. So as we're looking at your Wednesday, here's the risk of severe weather. It returns towards areas near St. Louis. It returns towards areas near Springfield and Indianapolis, on south through most of the state of Missouri, even though it doesn't show widespread storms there as we go through the event. Let me scoot this over just a pinch. So you can see these storms will carry their way through St. Louis, portions of Indiana, southern Illinois, on towards Louisville and Cincinnati once again, forming now as we get into the, overnight hours, down into parts of Arkansas and Tennessee as we go through. So a couple of days of severe weather potential. All modes of severe weather will be possible as we go through the event. So how much rain are we talking about with this? Let's go ahead and pop up a look at the modeled forecast precipitation amounts in these different areas. And again, rainfall is very finicky when it comes to thunderstorms, particularly severe thunderstorms. So a storm moves over one part of town but misses the other part of town, and that could be a difference in 3 inches of rain across 15 miles of distance. So don't take these numbers as gospel. Take these numbers as potential. It's guidance to show us when we calculate how much rain and water there is in the column of atmosphere above us, how much might fall and where. This is ending by the time we get to the 10th at about 1 in the morning. Look at western parts of, this is Iowa. And as we look in towards Fort Dodge, all the way up towards Omaha, it looks like another soggy event as we go through the next 48 hours in the Corn Belt. Now, as we look out into parts of Missouri and into Oklahoma, showers and rainfall amounts could be lofty there too. How much are these colors, by the way? Well, when you get into the greens, it's up to around an inch or so. Get into the yellows and we're pushing 2 inches of rain. And the reds, they get pretty ridiculous. And it really does depend on where the thunderstorms roam with regards to these. With parts of western Missouri near Kansas City and Point South, parts of northern Oklahoma picking up very significant rainfall amounts. And today and into Wednesday, 2 days of severe weather risk in and around Cincinnati means portions of Ohio, particularly the southern reaches of Ohio and in and near the Ohio River Valley, can expect upwards of 3 inches of rain in places. Maybe even 4.46, although, like I said, don't take these digits as gospel. Those showers and storms head toward the nation's capital as we zoom in. There may be some heavy rain and thunderstorms in and around Maryland and into parts of the Virginias as well as we go through. Look at Montana. Boy, it's been dry there in the big sky country of Montana. Billings. Wow, models indicating upwards of 5 inches or more of rain. In this country, at the elevated terrain, that is a lot of rain, and this would rarely happen. But we'll be watching it. We'll be watching it. That's a look at your weather. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I've been doing weather for the better part of 30 years, and 27 of those years on air as a broadcast meteorologist. And now I love streaming the weather and talking to you. So if you have a question, drop it in the comments. I love your likes. Thank you so very much. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That's right down below. And you'll find a little bell next to it if you'd like to have a notification sent to you of when I have some content up here for you. Well, click the bell. Have a wonderful day and stay informed. It's very important.